Hey there, in this tutorial I'm going to show you a little bit about the transform layers inside of After Effects. So here we have this basic 1990s feeling, maybe like a title screen or something that we're working on. It's really obnoxious, a lot of heavy colors, kind of hurts the eyes a little bit, so we'll get through this one and then be able to move on to what we need to. But I wanted to show you what a transform property is. Transform properties are basically the things that control or kind of dictate where your objects are on your screen. The position, the rotation, the opacity, the rotation of those things. They live inside of the layer, and we can go to them by opening up this little caret down here on the bottom left, and then opening up this caret into our transform properties like that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off these top two right now so we can focus on this one right here. I'm going to skip anchor point for now because I'm going to go over that when we talk about rotation and scale. And I'm going to go right to the position, which I think makes the most sense. So this is kind of like self-explanatory. It's the position of our image or whatever that layer is. What might not make sense are these numbers, 960 and 540. 960 is the X position, so where it is in the X axis, and the Y position, where our image is in the Y axis. And you might ask, like, what is determining what that is? Well, it's the center of our image. So right now you can see this little crosshair looking icon. This is our anchor point. But right there in the center of that anchor point is the center of our image. And because this is a 1920 by 1080 screen, half of those values are 960 by 540. And we can kind of see this if I grab this layer here and I move that anchor point all the way up to the top left. If I can get it perfect, which I didn't really, but you can see here, eventually we can get this to 0, 0. And now, if I scrub back, that center of our document is actually right here. And we can't see the anchor point anymore until we select on the layer like this. And if we scrub in as much as we can go, okay, you'll see that it's right there in the exact center. So if I hit reset, it's going to put it back here for us in the center. This number is what's stored and tells us where this is going to live. It's going to say the center of this lives at this X and Y space. The next one is scale, and this one has a percentage. So when we brought this in and we created a new solid, okay, it asked us what is our width that we want. And we said 1920 by 1080. So we said we want it to be the exact same size of our composition. So it comes in at 100% of what that is. If I wanted this to be a tenth of that, I can just come in here and type in 10% and hit enter. And now that is 1/10 of the size of our composition. It not only changed the X, which is the distance from left to right, and make it at scale, but it also did the distance or the scale on the Y direction. That's why we have two values, X and Y. And as soon as I changed one, I'll change it back to 100, it changed the other one for us. That's because this little icon right here looks like a chain link is connected together, and it connects those two. I can also change this value a couple other ways. I can click and drag the value left and right, and I can change the way that that value looks, and it does both of them. And I can also just come here into the screen, and I can find here this little red corner will allow me to change the scale. But notice that the scale is allowing me to go up and down, changing the scale, and left to right. And that's really being shown here in the values on the scale on that layer. Notice that they're not the same number anymore. They're not staying the same size. If I wanted to lock these so I didn't look so Gumby like this, I can hold the Shift key, and now as I just bring my mouse left to right or up and down, it's going to keep those values exactly the same for me. It locks them together. I'm going to Command Z for just a second. So what if I just wanted to make them smaller, but I didn't want to do it with this little widget up here? I can deselect this little link, and now I can move my values independently of each other like that. I'm going to Command Z back to here. We go down now to rotation, and rotation looks a little bit different as well. This one has a little 0 with an X and plus 0.0 degrees. Hopefully that makes sense that we can move this in degrees because it's rotation. And anything that has a number to it, we can always select, and I can always hit like a number. So I can say 5x, but nothing happened. It did happen, but we're not seeing what happened. And I'll show you here in just a second. Let me Command Z, go back to 0. But this time if I change, even if I scrub this number, nothing seems to happen. Nothing seems to happen. It is happening, but it's not apparent yet. If I scrub and I grab and click this number and I scrub it, you'll see that, oh, this makes a lot more sense. It's actually rotating because this is rotating on degrees. And if you'll see here, if I go back and forth, it's staying 0x and whatever those degrees are. But watch what happens when I bring this value up past 360 degrees. Notice that it went 1 times 36. I went a full circle plus 36 degrees. Now that might not make sense. I just reset this until I animate this, and I'll have another video on animation a little bit later. So I'm just going to have this animation turn that much. Not a whole lot. That's not a whole lot of turning. It's just rotating. It's kind of neat. Looks fun. Okay. But if I were to take this value here of this 0, and let's say I make it a 7, watch what happens. Notice what happens to my screen when I hit my mouse. Nothing happened. That's because that 7, you can't really see that. But if I go back to the beginning and I press play, whoa, now it's really spinning because it's spinning 7 times plus 33 degrees. So just be careful of which one of these you're actually working with so that you can see it and make it work. But that's how rotation works. Now, the other thing I want to show you about rotation, I'm actually going to turn my scale down a little bit so that we can see this a little bit better. And as we rotate it, it's rotating off the center of our image. If I were to move this image over to here, how would it rotate? Would it rotate around the center here or around the center of itself? Let's look and see. It's the center of itself. It's not really the center of itself. It just happens to look like it's the center of itself. And really what it's rotating around is this anchor point that's right here. So this is where I told you we'd skip the anchor point and come back to it. If I were to move the anchor point, and yes, when you move the anchor point stays and the object that you're moving will move. And this is kind of not really intuitive to me, just because I want to move this thing around and not the thing around the anchor point. But I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But now that we got the anchor point down here, when I do the rotation, you'll see that it's now rotating around that anchor point. In fact, I can move this so far so that it's off of my object altogether, and it'll still rotate and kind of orbit around that object, around that anchor point. Now, what if I don't want the object to move or the layer to move, and I want this little anchor point to move? We're going to have to use one of the tools up here called the pan behind tool. And it looks like a little, I don't know what this looks like a target or something. But this is the pan behind tool. This will allow me to come over here and grab and move this to wherever I want it to go. So with that selected, I can now do that. If I want to center and move this around, I can use Shift, what do you call that? Shift Home, and it'll move this back to kind of where the center of this object would be. And then I can move this wherever I want it to go like that. So maybe I want it to be over here, and now it's going to rotate like that. I want to bring it down here and have it rotate like this. I'm going to hit reset so we can reset everything. Last one I'm going to show you is opacity. And opacity is basically the transparency of the object. So if I increase and decrease the opacity, we'll see that it increases and decreases as well. All All right, so I think that's everything that I want to show you on this. The last thing I want to show you one other thing. There are shortcuts. Each one of the shortcuts almost perfectly aligns with the first letter. A is for anchor point, P is for position, S is for scale, R is for rotation. O is not for opacity. O, if I hit O, it'll take my playhead actually to, oh, it's not moving my playhead right now because it's not going to, but it would move my playhead around to the end of the thing here. So I will bring it to the beginning, to the in, and the out point. So if I close this down, if I want to use the anchor point only, I can hit A for anchor point, P for position, R for rotation, S for scale, and O won't work, so we have to use T for transparency. And that's what will bring up that opacity for us. You can open up multiple transform properties by holding down Shift. So right now I have opacity. I'm going to hold Shift and hit P. So now I have position, I hit S for scale. If I want to get rid of the opacity, I hold down the Shift and I click O, and it'll turn it, oh, it keeps not selecting. Oh no, O doesn't work. I just told you all that. 20 years in After Effects and I still get bit by that. So T, S, so you can turn them on and off with those shortcuts as well. So hopefully now you kind of understand what the transform properties are, and it'll help you to be able to create the things that you want to create inside of After Effects. Thank you.